We are back today with more Destiny 2 news, and so are Bungie, this time with more apologies. They confirm they messed up the armor stats going into Edge of Fate, although it is fixable, I assume, so that's the positive. I'll explain what that's about. They also outline patch changes we'll be seeing today, and some of the future updates they're planning. I believe today, unfortunately, it will mean a nerf for third iteration. Technically, I don't think it's a nerf, because the glitch with the weapon was unintended, but doesn't really matter, we're still gonna hate it! On top of that though, Bungie speak about the contest raid and some of the major issues that appear to have affected that release over the weekend. Otherwise, there's actually a really major power exploit. A lot of players are going to be able to take advantage of it, although probably not everybody, because it requires us to pull gear from previous season passes that we may not have claimed. But nonetheless, if you are able to do it, I'd say it's worth taking advantage of, and players will absolutely do it, given the absolute snail's pace crawl to obtain power in this update. I mean, it's that, or play Encore until your eyes start bleeding. So we'll round everything up in the video. If you find it useful, do us a favor and hit subscribe, but otherwise, let's get into it. Bungie say as we approach the first weekly reset, we want to give an update on upcoming fixed timelines and share a few resolutions we're hoping to include. They point out that this is not a full list of active investigations or planned fixes, but a recap of some of the major things coming up very soon. Initially, we're getting a patch today, July 22nd, and they're hoping to fix issues with audio on PlayStation 5. I know there have been some frustrating ones there. There's a couple of extra shouts regarding PlayStation we'll get to in a moment. They're also looking into the camera sometimes spinning violently when entering Matterspark. You know there's a problem when even the camera gets motion sickness. Otherwise, Kepler Tier 2 and 3 gear focusing is displaying an incorrect unlock requirement, and players must complete the Explore Kepler Bullet Sponge quest to unlock Tier 2 focusing, and the Explore Kepler Bullet Sponge quest 2 to unlock Tier 3 focusing. They're referring to the Fabled and Mythic quests on Kepler. Otherwise, teleporters are not functioning in Prophecy, Duality, and the Corrupted, although you might not mind because those pieces of content are practically irrelevant. All jokes aside, it's good that Bungie are fixing them, of course. Then next week, on Tuesday, July 29th, they're looking into hit markers not functioning when damaging targets. I'm looking forward to that one because gunplay just feels a bit weird at the minute. Otherwise, error coding out of the Edge of Fate missions can prevent players from relaunching them. And the Meteodoxia and Wishful Ignorance exotics can't be fully masterworked. Plus, Heart's Purity ornament is floating around the player or not animating properly. They do, however, say we're still actively investigating the prevalent PS4 console crash and have identified a root cause. Players experiencing this issue when logging into D2 or loading into the tower are advised to unequip certain armor pieces. So those pieces include the Warlock TechSec chest, Hunter TechSec cloak, and the Bushido cloak, as well as the Titan's TechSec mark, Twofold Crown mark, and Last Discipline mark. Based on the word in there, Bungie are pretty confident that those pieces of gear are causing a lot of issues. I would assume they're not causing all of the issues, however, because people were still experiencing the crashes in day one campaigns, so they didn't even have those pieces of gear yet, but it's definitely something worth bearing in mind. And despite me sounding salty, I do appreciate Bungie getting these fixes out. Another thing I appreciate is the transparency right here regarding armor stats. So they say we're investigating reports that ability regen was not recharging at the rates communicated in a previous TWID. Right now, the ability stats, grenade, melee, class, and super, are returning less ability energy than stated in the previous communications, where Bungie had said that hitting 70 in an ability stat in Edge of Fate was equivalent to pre-Edge of Fate values, and that beyond that, going above a 70 stat would result in a faster recharge than before. This currently isn't true for the 70 stat mark, but it applies to the 85 stat mark, and they intend to make it true for the 70 stat mark in an upcoming patch. So the short version is they're going to fix it. And the design goal for Edge of Fate stats is to let players be able to reach higher levels than before by investing heavier into specific stats. So making a 70 stat one of the big trade-off points is important for the design goal and to meet player expectations for build crafting in Edge of Fate. They also say there'll be a full breakdown of how the stats are being corrected, but suffice to say, mistakes were made and we're sorry for the accidental confusion here. We intend to make it right quickly, so they've confirmed that they'll be dropping that update on the 20th of November 2025. I'm only joking, that is not confirmed. I imagine within a couple of weeks, Bungie will be able to get that one sorted. Frustrating that it's still an issue right now, but it should line up with players really starting to unlock higher tier armor with even higher stats and investing into that as we move a bit further towards something of an end game. So good communications from Bungie, and there are a couple of things regarding the contest raid, which we'll touch on in a moment. something I wanted to highlight here, a bit of a power exploit that players have found. And the short version is that if you have unclaimed items from previous season passes, there is a way to actually claim them, and when they drop on a character, it's possible for them to have higher power than your equipped gear at the time. So this is pretty ridiculous, actually. I jumped onto a hunter that I abandoned a couple of months ago, which was literally at 10 power. Firstly, I pulled over my weapons from my main character. Then I headed to Saint 14, and because my first character is at 200 or more, obviously, that allows my hunter to pull 200 power gear nearly from Saint. So immediately, my hunter was at 200 power. And this is where we actually get the tip about pulling things from the season pass. There's an extension you can install for Chrome, which is called Destiny 2 Wayback Machine. I'll link it down below, but basically, you install the extension, and then when you head to the previous season pass page on Bungie.net, which is also linked below, the extension actually allows it to show all seasons, or the majority of seasons, of unclaimed loot that you have, which can of course include weapons and armor from season passes. Now, the crazy part, as you can see, I started with a 200 power machine gun, but I had a plank stride from many seasons ago, and when I pull that over to the hunter, that dropped at 203 power. Same applies to my armor right here. Any armor pieces that I'm able to pull from a previous season can actually drop with higher power. The important thing that you need to do though is target the slots which currently have your lowest power. So as a for instance, if you've got 5 slots at 205 and 3 slots which are at 200, you need to pull something that goes into one of those 3 slots that are at 200. There's another site that you can use for this called Destiny Power Bars, which will actually show you which are the lowest in slot. Basically, we're looking for pinnacle level jumps on the pieces of gear. So as you can see, the armor pieces I've got here are at 199 power. When I pull pieces from a previous season pass, they're dropping at 204 power. Obviously, I'm using a character which is basically at level 10 here, but this applies even if you're at 250 power or 300 power. So the only thing you'll depend on is actually having leftover things from previous season passes. I, unfortunately, don't have that many, so I used up all the ones that I had available, which gave me a jump of around 5 power total from where I started. But if you have a lot of stuff you haven't claimed, this could be a reasonably significant amount of power actually sitting there in your previous season passes. So that's basically how it works. Definitely worth a try. Keep in mind again, you need to install the extension, which is linked below, then head to the Bungie Season Pass page, also linked below, and claim gear that goes into what are currently your lowest power slots. Take advantage of it while you can. I'd imagine if Bungie have a way that they can easily stop this, they probably will, because it's circumventing what appears to be a significant grind, which was Bungie's intention with power. And that's precisely why they disabled Encore last week. So don't miss out on that. Another quick shout here, it is actually possible to get some tier 4 gear in the game right now, and the way to do it basically is to play the weekly missions on Kepler, these ones that are on the left-hand side. I actually ran them earlier in the week without knowing this, but if you set the world tier to mythic difficulty and complete them, the Kepler gear engram, the actual milestone reward that's on the activity, can drop tier 4 loot. It can also drop alternate variants of the Kepler armor set, which you're supposed to complete the fabled or mythic quests in order to get them, but I actually started getting them before I'd completed that quest. They're not guaranteed, so I imagine it's total RNG, but if you want to roll the dice for chances at some tier 4 gear a couple of times a week before you actually get to 350 power, it's definitely something to keep in mind. A last thing to mention though, Bungie have addressed some feedback regarding the contest raid over the weekend. So priority conversations they're looking into include power deltas for contest raid difficulty, and they've said we're seeing reports of enemies being at higher power deltas than what the activity advertises, so enemies having a skull icon next to them instead of a sword. We will investigate, is what they've said. I actually think if it turns out that the contest mode was harder than it should have been, I don't know, I'm not sure Bungie will even admit that because it just has the potential to cause too much drama. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong, but otherwise, PC crashes after 5 hours with certain hardware configurations. That actually, as far as I'm aware, is not unique to this contest raid. That's been going on for a long time. But they're also looking into rally flags not fully refreshing ammo and abilities. They also say some players are concerned that clearing this contest required loadout swapping, lengthy ad clear phases to stockpile ammo, and near perfect execution. Also, some players feel that contest difficulty may have been tuned too high for this raid, so that only an incredibly small portion of the community could have a shot at completing it. I love how they say some players are concerned that loadout swapping was necessary, or that players feel contest difficulty may only be possible for a small portion of the community. I mean, they're not really concerns or feelings, it's a fact. I do agree though that contests should be difficult. Maybe there was an error in this one and things were harder than they should have been. Who knows? Maybe Bungie will give us more clarity on that in the future. But that's what they've said for the moment. And of course, really, it follows the difficulty trend that we're seeing in Edge of Fate overall. Things do feel very bullet spongy and tanky. The base campaign for solo players kind of felt that way. The legendary campaign, when you're at 20 power or something, felt that way. Fabled and Mythic Kepler feels that way. The raid feels that way. It's sort of the general trend at the moment. Whether you like that or not is a different question, but that's feedback for another day, I'd say. So for the moment, guys, there we go. Those are the updates from Bungie. I will keep you posted with the full patch notes later today. Give me any thoughts you have in the comment section. Take advantage of that power exploit. And it is an exploit because Bungie didn't intend for this to happen, which also means they may well fix it quite soon. Otherwise, guys, for the moment, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.